Welcome to Reviews That Scare with Jess and Blair. I'm Jess.
I'm Blair.
Blair, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Yourself?
I am doing very well. Thank you very much. We are on to, into the tail end of a heat wave, and I am ready to chill out with yet another film review. Of course, we are spending this month reviewing films worked on by the great Tom Savini, and we have a classic to chat about today. But before we do that, what do you say we chat a little bit about some horror news?
This is horror news.
Blairski, you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, let's talk Maxine, Jesse. You and me both saw it these past few days, separately, of course.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
I thought it was great. I thought it was, it's been a while since I've seen X, and it's been a while since I saw Pearl. But I don't necessarily agree with all the hate that Maxine has been getting online from reviews. I thought it was fine. I thought Mia Goth was great.
Yep.
I thought the direction was great. I loved how they tied in the character of Pearl and the character of Maxine to kind of bring it full circle.
Yeah.
I thought Kevin Bacon was great.
He was awesome, man.
I thought the special effects and the gore was great. I thought the music was fun. I thought all in all it was a fine movie. I wouldn't give it 5 out of 5.
No.
But I had a really good time.
I really enjoyed it. To me, it was maybe the least horror movie of the three. It was more of a drama thriller to me. But that being said, both me and Rachel really, really enjoyed it. Rachel even liked it better than X. I can't say the same. I told you this earlier, I kind of liked all three movies equally and all in different ways and for different reasons.
They're all completely different movies. Obviously, the first one is just a good slasher. This one, I agree. I felt like it was the least horror out of the three of them.
Yeah.
I felt they'd even have a little bit of action in there, especially the last, 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Guns a-blazing.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. If anything, I wish they would have incorporated a little bit more of the Night Stalker into it.
Right, like actually showed him a little bit.
Yeah, but then again, it's not about the Night Stalker. It's about Maxine, who, as per usual, Mia Goth knocked it out of the park. She was great.
Yeah, she killed it. We quite enjoyed it as well. So I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did, Jesse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another film just released, Longlegs.
Yeah.
Is absolutely slaying it at the box office. Already more than doubling their budget and have made over $22 million so far just on opening weekend. I have not seen it yet. I'm reading mixed reviews online. Some people absolutely hate it and some people absolutely love it. As kind of you get with every movie release these days.
It was we were trying to figure out what we were going to see last night. It was between Maxine and it was between Longlegs, and we ended up flipping a coin.
Oh, that's okay.
We were going to go and see Longlegs today, but we just kind of ran out of time.
Yeah, busy days, man.
It is one that looks great. The trailer is really, really good. And more than anything, I'm just interested to see what Nicolas Cage we get with this movie. He's very unpredictable. And this is kind of a Nicolas Cage character that we haven't seen, I don't think, ever.
No, and from all the different reviews I've been reading, one thing's all been the same, and that is Nicolas Cage is fantastic.
Okay, good to know.
So I'm really looking forward to that.
Awesome.
Carrying on with horror news, another new Hell House LLC movie is headed our way, titled Hell House LLC Lineage, and is set for release October 2025. This installment will apparently continue going deeper into the backgrounds of some of the franchise's characters, as well as introduce new characters and storylines into the universe. I myself cannot wait. I love the Hell House series.
Yeah, I have not seen the latest installment.
Oh,
I've not
Jesse,
seen
it's
the,
so
the
good.
fourth one.
It's
And I
so
know
good.
you've been getting me to, when it first came out, you were telling me to watch it. And that one was released exclusively to Shudder as well, which this one will be.
Yeah.
Um, but that might be a fun franchise to catch up on before the fifth one comes out. And we do have time. We have over a year before the newest one comes out. So
Maybe come, September, October of 2025, we just do a Hell House month.
might have to
Might have to.
just to get all caught up.
Right? My final piece of horror news. If you haven't heard this lately, it is sad news. I announced the passing of legendary actor Shelley Duvall, who died at the age of 75 in her sleep due to complications from diabetes. Probably best known for her portrayal of Wendy Torrance, of course, in The Shining. Us at Reviews That Scare, we salute you.
Yeah, huge loss.
Yeah.
Also, of course, Olive Oil in the
Yeah.
live action Popeye movie. And I think for a lot of kids or a lot of people our age, a lot of us remember her from as being the host of Fairy Tale Theater.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, huge loss. Big time. Yeah. I have one more piece of horror news to add on to that. We are getting another installment in the VHS franchise,
Hell
a
yeah.
franchise that you and I are all over, Blair. All hail Ratma.
All hell, Rama.
But we're getting another one. This one, much like Hell House LLC, will be going straight to Shudder, and we'll be seeing it a little bit earlier, October 4th, 2024.
Okay, this year, right on.
Expected, it's going to be called VHS Beyond.
Okay.
Cool. I didn't see any trailers, any teaser trailers, anything like that. But we can always assume with a new VHS movie that at least half of it is going to be good.
Yeah, that's usually about it. There's usually half good and half stinkers, but still a fun time.
I mean, and you know what? I think that's a perfect segue into this week's movie.
Yeah.
But with a good anthology movie, which we both love.
Yes, we do.
You can always expect that some of them are going to be really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are going to fall somewhere in between. And some of them you're going to wish you had never watched. But it's a perfect segue into this week's episode.
Yes, it is.
Third episode in Tom Savini month goes to an absolute classic with not only an absolute classic cast, but director and writer. This week, we're talking about 1982's Creepshow. Runtime on this one, 2 hours. Blairski, initial thoughts on the runtime?
It's long, but it's an anthology. They're all long, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah. I felt like it started off really strong.
Yeah.
And then it kind of ran out of gas.
Yeah, it dipped a bit.
End.
It dipped a bit for sure.
Yeah, I think this is a good place to start with fun facts. I was going to jump right into likes and dislikes, but before we do that, let's chat a little bit about some fun facts, shall we?
Fun facts. Facts that are fun.
Blairski, you got any fun facts for Creepshow?
I do. Well, this is Stephen King's screenwriting debut. The young boy at both the beginning and ending of the film is none other than Stephen King's son, Joe King, or Joe Hill.
Oh, no way.
No, the author himself. Yes, sir.
Big writer. Yeah.
Yeah. The segments, The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill and The Crate, were both based on the same Stephen King short titled Weeds.
Oh, no way.
I found pretty interesting.
Very cool.
Final fun fact I have is as many as 20,000 cockroaches were used in the final segment. Most of the insects, though, shown in the final scenes of the segment, when the entire room is taken over, were actually, according to Tom Savini himself, just nuts and raisins.
Okay, fair enough. Apparently, those cockroaches cost 50 cents a piece. And according to George A. Romero, they were the most expensive part of the shoot.
I'd imagine at 20,000 times 50. or 50
Yeah,
cents.
I
right?
even have a larger number. It was over 250,000.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so it's like 150 some thousand dollars were used just on cockroaches.
That's insane, man.
Insane. I've got a couple of fun facts here. Leslie Nielsen, good Canadian boy, apparently carried a fart machine on set and would often let it rip right before George A. Romero would call action.
That sounds like a Leslie Nielsen thing to do.
He's also, now that I remember it, he was known for using it in interviews as well.
That's
so
hilarious.
you can go on YouTube or whatever and look up Leslie Nielsen interviews, and there's a good chance that he uses a fart machine in it, which is great.
That's so awesome.
This is the only George A. Romero movie to open at #1 at the box office.
Oh, really? The only one?
The only one. Pretty wild considering the resume that man has.
Right?
Yeah, Stephen King and George A. Romero were really good friends, believe it or not. And then, according to Jonathan Tiersten, who played Ricky in Sleepaway Camp,
Okay.
both Creepshow and Sleepaway Camp used the same crew.
Okay.
Which
Like
is pretty
film
cool.
crew, does everything?
Same film crew. Yeah.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah, I don't know how in depth that is. I don't know if that means, wardrobe, construction, lighting, sound. But
Yeah.
it's as vague as they use the same film crew.
All right. We'll go with
All
it.
right. And then, sorry, I do have one more. It's the only George A. Romero film where he didn't write the screenplay.
All right.
So obviously, in that case, he has to bring in another great writer, and I think you found a pretty good substitute for this one.
He sure did.
Before we talk about the writer, let's talk about the director himself. George A. Romero, of course, directed 1978's Dawn of the Dead, 1973's The Crazies, 1968's Night of the Living Dead, and 1985's Day of the Dead, just to name a few. Pretty much any of the Dead movie is either by George A. Romero or heavily inspired by George A. Romero.
Yeah, 100%.
This one written by Stephen King. Where do we even start with Stephen King?
Mhm.
The King of Horror, the Master of the Macabre, Richard Bachman, Uncle Steve, possibly the most influential and important figure in horror over at least the last 60 years.
Yeah, I'd agree.
If not the last century. The man is, everyone knows who Stephen King is and can probably list at least one Stephen King book, movie, whatever.
Yeah.
The man's a legend. This one has a massive cast, and being an anthology, almost every single segment in this movie has a huge cast member. Starting off, Hal Holbrook, as Henry in the segment The Crate, also starred in Into the Wild, 1976's All the President's Men, 94 episodes of Evening Shade, 1987's Wall Street, 1980's The Fog, and 287 episodes of The Brighter Day. Leslie Nielsen as Richard in the segment Something to Tide You Over. Also starred as Lieutenant Frank Drebin in The Naked Gun, The Naked Gun 2.5, and The Naked Gun 33 1/3. As Dracula in 1995's Dracula Dead and Lovin' It, 1980's Airplane, 1980's Prom Night, and 1956's Forbidden Planet, just to name a few. The man's a legend.
Yeah, he is.
And
He
like
really
I had
is.
mentioned earlier before, good Canadian boy. I
Good
believe he was
Canadian boy.
born in Regina, Saskatchewan, I believe.
All right.
Ed Harris as Hank in the segment Father's Day. Also started in 1989's The Abyss, 1992's Glenn Ross, Apollo 13, The Truman Show, and 2022's Top Gun Maverick. Most everyone in this movie has a massive resume.
Yeah.
Big stars, yeah. And then also starring Adrian Barbeau, E.G. Marshall, Fritz Weaver, Ted Danson, and of course the legend Stephen King himself in arguably the best part of this whole movie. Synopsis for 1982's Creepshow, courtesy of our dear friends at IMDb. 5 grisly tales from a kid's comic book about a murdered father rising from his grave, a bizarre meteor, a vengeful husband, a mysterious crate's occupant, and a plague of cockroaches.
Yep.
Yep,
That's the movie.
that is the movie. None of the segments intertwine. This is the movie.
Yeah.
This leads us to one of our favorite segments of the show, one that we like to kick the show off with, Kill Count.
Kill count. The time of the show we count the kills.
Blairski, do we have a kill count for 1982's Creepshow?
I'm going to go with 15 on this one, which is what I counted watching the film. Online, they list the deaths at 97 on one page, but they're including off-screen deaths. They're probably counting every single cockroach. to be
Sure.
honest with you,
Yeah, at that number, yeah.
So 15. We're going with 15.
Okay, I think that's more reasonable than 90 some.
Yeah, I think so too.
Leading into our next favorite segment, likes and dislikes.
Likes, dislikes, likes, dislikes, and everything in between.
The portion of the show where we chat about what we liked, what we didn't like, and everything in between. Blairski, we usually started off with kill count.
Yeah.
We usually jump into the intro,
Yeah.
what we liked about the intro. We both love intros. But this being an anthology, I first want to list off all the titles of the anthology, and then I want you to tell me your favorite
Yeah.
and then your least favorite.
Yeah.
So the titles are Segment 1, Father's Day. Segment 2, The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill. Segment 3, Something to Tide You Over. Segment 4, The Crate. And segment 5, They're Creeping Up on You. Blairski, your favorite segment of Creepshow?
It's a close one. There's a couple I like, but my favorite is probably Something to Tide You Over.
Okay, yeah.
I really enjoyed that. I thought it was sick. I thought it was twisted. I loved how they come back as zombies at the end of it. I loved everything about it.
I think those are the most like iconic, I guess, makeup work from the movie.
Yeah, I can see that.
When they come back from the ocean, from the dead.
I can see that. Or the zombie from the first segment was pretty cool.
Or the
too.
zombie from the first. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And your least favorite?
Can't remember the name of it already, even though you just said it, but it's the last segment. The cockroach segment would probably be the least favorite.
They're creeping up on you.
Creeping
Yeah.
up. That was my least favorite segment.
My favorite is going to be The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill.
Yeah.
Stephen King. Masterfully cheesy.
He was so good. Okay, so I have that written here since we're talking about it.
Yeah.
So the acting in the whole movie was good.
Yeah.
Whether it was more serious acting, like that of Leslie Nelson, he actually played a serious role.
Yeah.
Or a super cheesy acting like Stephen King was in that segment. I absolutely loved it. He was so good. He had the cross eyes going the whole time.
Yeah. He was very expressive. Apparently, he was told to play it like Wile E. Coyote.
Okay, weird.
Sure. Which I love. And it's like, it makes so much more sense. And I'm curious if, if perhaps Stephen King was dealing with substance abuse issues at this time in the 80s. I imagine probably so.
I'd imagine so, yeah.
But man, oh man, he was the most entertaining part of this movie. To me, it was the most comic book like segment of the whole movie.
It was also the most comical of the whole movie. He kind of reminded me a little bit of Jim Varney as Ernest, a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Stephen King's Scared Stupid.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And then I have to agree with you. My least favorite, They're Creeping Up on You.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if it was necessarily because it was the worst one, but I think it was just by that point I was maybe a bit over with it. And
you're at an hour, 40 minutes at that point.
Yeah. And I think that maybe had to do a little bit with segment 4, The Crate, being the longest segment of the whole movie. It was way too long.
It was. It really was.
And I really felt that with segment 4 and segment 5 as being both way too long and not overly scary at all.
And in general, my least two favorites, like right after the cockroach segment, probably the
Yeah.
crate would be my second least favorite one. So
It was just my interest was gone by that point, especially after we had such a high note with the first three.
yeah,
And the third one being something to tide you over. I'm thinking, oh, it's only going up from here, and then it kind of comes a bit to a screeching halt. Eh,
yeah, no, I hear you, and I totally agree.
it is what it is. I do want to talk about the intro on this one. We kind of have an intro and we have an outro for this movie, and it's both setting it up with a father who's scolding his child for reading the Creepshow comic book, and then everything kind of mirrors the images of kind of the style of a comic book,
Which I
so
love.
a lot of the
Love it.
yeah, me too. A lot of the shots are done in the frame of a comic book,
Yeah,
or the transitions. I love the transitions in this movie, using the comic book, the actual comic book pages to transition to the next segment.
yeah.
I thought it was great.
I really like that too. This is the first time I've seen this movie or any Creepshow movie, but I am
Yeah.
a fan of the TV series. And
Yeah.
they use the same kind of comic book layout in the series, and I just
Yeah.
love that about Creepshow.
I think it was just a perfect setup. It's super simple. You know kind of what you're going to get right off the bat, and then it jumps right into it. To me, it kind of felt a little bit like a Goosebumps episode to begin with.
Yeah, I did.
Like a Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like very childish setup that immediately goes into a woman murdering her husband, and then that husband coming back to life.
Yeah, it changes pretty quick on you, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I thought the first segment, the Father's Day segment, was a good setup.
I did too.
And then followed by, like we had already mentioned, segment 2 and 3, which were, I don't even think we can argue it. They were the best segments of the movie.
They were, I'd say, for me personally, segment 3, segment 2, segment 1, segment 4, segment 5. That's how I do.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? All the different segments had things that I did like.
Yeah.
I thought anytime special effects were used, it was really, really good. So especially in the first, second, and fifth segments, I guess the third as well. Basically, anytime we get to see Tom Savini's work,
Yes.
whether it be, cockroaches pouring out of a guy's stomach,
Yeah.
or dead husbands coming out of the ground, or the great makeup work at the end of Something to Tide You Over, or Stephen King being transformed into a human hedge.
Yeah.
It's all brilliant. It's all so good.
That's so good, man.
And it's all over the top, which is, I think, where Tom Savini shines the most, with stuff that is gross and horrific, but also very over the top.
I totally agree. Did you get jump scared at all? I sure did,
No,
man.
I didn't.
Oh,
Where did you
man.
get jump scared at?
When the dead father first sticks his hand out of the grave, we had the volume just blasting down here in the basement. That scared the crap out of me. And there was another scene, I think it was in the Tide Me Over scene. I can't remember exactly what happened, but again, it was just like another very sudden, loud noise. Jump me, man.
Which is good. I totally get that first jump scare, the arm coming out of the grave, because it is the first kind of horrific thing we see in the whole movie. And it's kind of out of the blue. We're not expecting it, even though she's sitting on top of the grave and you know that something is going to happen.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool. And just the makeup work on that skeleton, on that reanimated corpse, is so cool.
So cool, man. It must have taken so much time to do that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. You had mentioned, the acting I thought was really, really good. You had mentioned it earlier. Leslie Nielsen was great.
He was really good.
And like I had mentioned, I think most people are familiar with seeing him in those comedic roles just because that's what he was, I think, most well known for.
Yeah.
But this, he's just really, and it is very campy and over the top and whatever, but he really shines in this. Like, he's really, really good.
It's a more serious role for sure, and it's a brutal role. Like he plays like a psychopath, very, very good.
Yeah. And it is kind of nice coming off of the second segment going into that one,
Yeah.
where we see Stephen King, who's equally as good in a completely different way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Stephen King's portrayal is just like straight up entertainment, goofiness. I mean, I could watch a full movie of just Jordy Verrill.
I was shocked because I've never seen Stephen King act before. I've seen him kind of appear in movies.
Bit
But
roles,
yeah, but I've never seen him really act like that before. I was really surprised.
He's not bad, right? And
Not at
again,
all.
he's the most cartoon of all of the performances in
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah.
I really like the music in this one. I felt like, especially in the third segment, it was a lot of fun. It reminded me a lot of the Twilight Zone,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
also makes sense because I felt like the third segment, Something to Tide You Over, felt the most like a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that.
Which is, I thought the music just fit perfectly. A lot of funny stuff in these segments, whether
Yeah.
intentional or not. I obviously, the second segment, there was a lot of sight gags. I remember a sign in a dream sequence reading Department of Meteors, which I thought was really, really funny. And then, of course, Stephen King's characters. But like we had already mentioned, the fourth and fifth segments were way too long.
Yeah, they were.
And then even to a point where in segment 5, I was just kind of bored straight up.
Now, I haven't seen Creepshow 2, but I'm under the impression there's only 3 segments in that one.
I haven't seen it either. But
Okay.
I mean, if anything, this movie made me more interested to see Creepshow 2.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind it if it was only, and I don't mind the 5 segments, but make the movie shorter and make them each 20 minutes long, 25 minutes long, you know? Or, give the better stories
A little more time.
screen time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give segment 2 and segment, I did think segment 3 was timed perfectly.
I did too. And segment 2, segment 1 was a little on the longer side, but it wasn't too bad.
I agree. I think it was just because it started the movie off and it took a while to get anything really going.
Yeah.
And then 2 got right into it. 3 got right into it. And then, 4 and 5 I was just bored. There wasn't anything terrifying about segment 5.
No.
And honestly, there wasn't really anything terrifying about segment 4 either.
Well, it's a werewolf in a crate. To me, that's what I got out of Fluffy the werewolf or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I agree. But it's like we didn't see a whole lot of Fluffy.
No.
It's more time with these professors talking about professor stuff.
Yeah.
Was special effects used with Fluffy? They were really, really cool. I just wish we would have seen more of it.
Yeah, me too.
The last note I have, all of Tom Savini's stuff was fantastic, as per usual.
As per usual, we've done 3 movies so far, and all of his work in these movies is fantastic, man.
I was really excited to see his stuff in an anthology like this, just because I knew that there was 5 different stories and we were going to get 5 different Tom Savini works, which is really, really cool.
Which we did.
Yeah, 100%. What else did you like about this one or not like about this one?
Man, I've got nothing else written down. We've covered everything.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. The consensus, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Great. 4, 5. Could have done without.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a perfect lead into our next segment, one of our favorites, lessons we learned from watching a 1982's Creepshow.
Lessons we learned from watching. Insert title of movie here.
The segment of the show where we talk about the valuable life lessons we learned from watching said movie. Blairski.
Yeah, buddy.
Did you learn a single darn thing from watching 1982's Creepshow?
2 things, man.
Okay.
If you have an alien species of plant growing off you, don't make the situation worse by jumping into the bathtub.
Yeah.
If we know anything about the plants we already have here on Earth, they absolutely love and feed off water. So stay out of the bathtub.
Yeah, don't do it, especially if you have a vision of your dead father telling you don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Don't do
Listen
it.
to your dead dad.
Come on, Stephen King. The final thing I learned is sometimes it's just better to be shot dead than the alternative. Being shot seems way less painful than slowly drowning
Oof.
by being buried neck high in sand whilst the tide comes in.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's mentioned, I think, a couple of times in that. Just shoot me.
Yeah,
kind of
just
thing.
shoot me.
Yeah. I learned a few things here. Started off, I learned Ted Danson can bench press 300 pounds. I learned buying real estate in a college town is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I learned if Leslie Nielsen ever invites you to the beach, politely decline. Also learned take care of your VCR, folks. Get a maintenance kit or at least dust off the heads. I learned cockroaches are really tough to kill.
They are. They
And
are.
then finally, I learned Stephen King makes a stiff screwdriver. Alrighty,
Oh,
this
too
leads to one
funny.
of our favorite segments of the show, Line of the Night.
Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night.
The segment of the show where we discuss our favorite lines from the movie. They might give us chills, they might give us the giggles. All we know is that they are our favorites, Blairski.
Yeah, but
What do you got for Line of the Night?
some good dialogue in this movie. I've got 3 written down. Start off with, "Where's my cake? I want my cake." Said repeatedly by Nathan Grantham in the first
Yeah.
segment, which I found very relatable, actually.
Yeah, where's my
Yeah,
Father's Day
where's
cake?
my cake?
Yeah.
Mike the janitor says "fuck a diddle," which I thought was great.
Yep.
And finally, Wilma Northrup says, "Now get out of my way, Henry, or I swear to God, you'll be wearing your balls for your earrings," which I thought was
Ooh.
great. Wilma had a ton of great lines.
Yeah.
She sure had a mouth on her. That is for sure.
Yeah. I've got a couple more here. I mean, Stephen King had some great ones in segment 2, such as, "That's a meteor. I'll be dipped in shit if that ain't a meteor."
Yep.
And then he ends segment 2 by saying, "I'm growing," which is a great line.
Mhm.
What else do I have here? In segment 3, Richard says, "Harry, the maiden fair is waiting for her knight in shining corduroy," which I thought was hilarious. We have a line from Harry and Becky, but it's mentioned quite a few times, similar to "I want my cake, where's my cake?"
Yeah.
But in segment 3, the line "if you can hold your breath"
Yeah.
comes up quite frequently.
It really does. Yeah.
Yeah. And then finally, Mr. White says in segment 5, "What's the matter, Mr. Pratt? Bugs got your tongue?"
God.
Yeah. This leads us to our final segment of the show. Some might even say our favorite.
Yes, sir.
Top 5.
Top 5. It's up there.
Top 5 goes to Celebrity Lookalike Time.
Celebrity lookalike time.
The time of the show where we take a look at the cast and discuss their celebrity doppelgangers. Spoiler alert, it usually comes down to the character's hairstyle, Blairski.
Yes, sir.
You got a couple celebrity lookalikes?
Yes, I do. The character Henry Northrup from the 4th segment, The Crate, reminded me of both Bill Murray and also Murray Hamilton, who plays the mayor in Jaws.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Richard Vickers, of course, played by Leslie Nielsen. In the 3rd segment, reminded me of Steve Martin. That's definitely thanks to the white hair and just the comedic faces they both have.
Yeah, Leslie Nielsen and Steve Martin both had white hair since like their 30s.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I get it now, but when I was younger, I used to get the two of them mixed up all the time, man.
Sure. Oh, goodness.
Finally, the character Dexter Stanley, who is also in the 4th segment of The Crate. He reminded me of famous rom-com actor Hugh Grant. And that was just all in the face.
Sure. Oh, goodness. I've got a couple here. Tom Savini,
Yeah.
who makes an appearance as Garbage Man number 2
Yeah.
at the very end, reminded me of The Last of Us star Pedro Pascal.
Okay. Yeah.
It's the facial hair, it's the dark hair.
Yeah.
And then finally, Stephen King in the second segment reminded me of the mean one himself, the Grinch.
Okay.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
I
the
love it.
Grinch. Yeah. And of course, that is the hair / Kentucky bluegrass growing all over him.
Yeah, I'm thinking you're thinking of Stephen King closer to the end of the segment.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. All right, this leads us to our final rating for 1982's Creepshow, Blairski, out of 5 chia pets that share a striking resemblance to horror legend Stephen King. What do you give in Creepshow?
That's so funny. It's a tough one, man, because there's some segments where I'd probably give it a 5 out of 5 just for the segment.
Yeah.
Movie as a whole, the last 2 segments kind of took me out of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to give the movie as a whole 3.5 chia pets that share a striking resemblance to horror legend Stephen King out of 5.
Yeah, fair rating. I'm going to go a little bit lower. I'm going to give it 3 chia pets that share a striking resemblance to horror legend Stephen King out of 5. I'm giving it a point for each of the 3 first segments.
Yeah, I was going to go that route too, but I wanted to give it a little more because I did enjoy watching it.
And like you said, some of those first 3 or some of those segments could have been a 5 out of 5 easily.
Easily.
You know, and the ones that we really did enjoy, we really loved them.
Yeah.
There was just some that kind of sucked the energy out of the movie just a little bit.
Any anthology films like that, man. You look at all the VHS movies, even my favorite anthology movie of all time, which is probably Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
There's still a few kind of stinkers in that one as well. So
that's just kind of what is expected is you're going to have ones, and it's not even necessarily that they're stinkers. It's that there's going to be 1 or 2 in the film that are so good that they kind of overshadow the other ones and make the other ones look bad, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad we watched this one. It's one that I've been wanting to do for a while.
Me too, man.
And I just couldn't wait till Stephen King month to do it.
I'm glad I finally got to watch it, man. I've watched the show forever. I've just never seen any of the movies, man. So I was glad to see it.
Bring on Creepshow Part 2.
Yeah, well, we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there. This was a lot of fun. I'm excited for the last 2 movies of the month. We're ending the month with a bang.
Yeah,
I can't wait. But until then, this has been Reviews at Scare with Jess and Blair. I'm Jess.
I'm Blair. Remember to stay scary.
And eat every sandwich. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Reviews at Scare. Make sure you check out our Linktree at linktree/Reviews at Scare. That's linktr.ee/Reviews at Scare, which has links to our Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, Twitch, and many other things. If you'd like to email us, you can reach us at reviewsatscare@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and remember to stay scary and eat every sandwich. A proud member of Pod Nation TV.